Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today on the bench we have an Anthem MCA2 power amp that belongs to a friend of mine, and he says it's got some problems. It hasn't been used in about 5 years, and he's not quite sure what the problem is. I was told it doesn't turn on. I was told one channel distorts, one channel barely has any volume. They don't remember. So we're going to test this out today, take a quick peek at it. The first thing I notice about it is it's in really very dirty shape. And with any amplifiers like this, the first thing I do is I take the cover off and I just do a visual inspection of the inside. Are the fuses blown? Is there anything black and burnt and scored on the amplifier in here anywhere? Are all the wire connections plugged in? Is anything out of place? Is the voltage set to the correct voltage? I just try and give it a general inspection. And the other thing that I do, and in a case like this, I want to talk about health safety a little bit. Yeah, I know that the owner of this amplifier has cats. And so I'm always looking for, did a cat pee in the thing? And that happens. More than once I've had an amplifier come in that cat has peed in it and corroded the board and damaged it. And so I'm looking for things like that. And on top of it, these amplifiers are, sit around somebody's house and they're full of dust. So I try and vacuum it out. I take a toothbrush and I get in here and I try and scrub as much of the dust out of it as I can, so I'm not breathing that stuff in. And, it always comes in from somebody's house, and they use perfumes and sprays and carpet stuff, and sometimes these amplifiers just reek of whatever flavor a person's house is, and so I try and clean it up the best I can. And there's nothing worse than turning on an amplifier and having the thing just reek. When I worked for a major audio manufacturer, we had one guy on the production floor who was he dubbed himself a bit of a player. Oh, I just noticed that plug was half plugged in. This plug is half plugged in. Plug those back in. That's interesting. I shouldn't have touched it. I should have powered it up and saw if that was an issue. But in any case, all right, sorry, I digress. I'm going on. I work for a major audio manufacturer, and one of the guys on the production floor deemed himself a bit of a player. And, gold chains and tons of cologne. And I could tell every single unit he worked on, because I would roll it over to my bench and it would just reek of his cologne. HR had to talk to the guy and tell him to tone it down. Imagining opening your brand new $30,000 amplifier and you pull out of the box and it reeks like somebody's bad cologne. I mean, that's just bad. And of course he wouldn't tone it down, so they ended up having to let him go. And thankfully, honestly, because there's nothing worse than that. I'm particularly sensitive to smells anyway, and so I try and clean things up the best I can. And in this amplifier, I don't see anything majorly wrong with it. It seems to look okay. Of course, this amplifier, there's no schematics for it online anyplace. Anthem is one of those companies that was probably made by some Asian manufacturer and then rebranded for Sonic Frontiers. That's common. Emotiva does that. Several other companies do that. It'll be some Asian or, a Euro brand that's rebranded for a United States company. And so trying to find schematics is impossible. If you're not an authorized service center, you can't get schematics. And these schematics have a tendency to leak out on the internet and whatnot. And for this model, I've not been able to find anything at all. I was able to find some schematics for an Amp 1 and an Amp 2. And I'm not sure what models those are. That may be this amplifier for all I know, or similar to it. And looking at the schematics, it looks like your standard Asian Euro, type amplifier. So it shouldn't be that hard to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. A lot of times these bias pots on here get dirty, and sometimes you just got to spray some deoxit in them, clean them up a little bit, get the bias reset on it, and go from there. Just doing a visual once around the amplifier, I noticed that there are test points here and here. I'm assuming this would be for bias. If I check this out, we'll take a look and see what this is actually wired to. But I can see down here there are some large emitter resistors, and the transistors are on this bottom board, and then that connects through a ribbon cable to the driver section up here. So that'll be interesting to take a look at what this is connected to and what they're monitoring on this test point here. I'll check the fuses here, make sure they're good. This same amplifier could be bought in a 2-channel, a 3-channel, and a 5-channel version, and they just use the same module stacked up inside of the chassis here. This is a 200 watt per channel amplifier. So let's take a look at it and see what we can do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it in, and we're going to connect it on a variac, and we're going to turn it on. If there was a way to bypass the soft start and bring it up slowly, I would do that. And there probably is, but without a schematic, I'm probably just going to plug and pray and hit that power switch and see what happens. Let me get set up and we'll be right back. Okay, over here, I don't know if you can see it, we have a variac. It's hiding over here. We have a variac set up over here, and it's up and on, and I have a bigger one down here that eventually I'll get connected, but for now I'm using my small one. And let's turn this on. All right, so the variac is on now. We're going to hit the power switch and see if anything goes kapoof. Nice big spike of power. Looks like the amplifier came on. Did it power on? I do not see a power light on it. That's interesting. The manual on is turned on the rear, but we have no power. Oh, now that's interesting. Just as I was about to turn it off, the power light came on. So I'm going to turn this off again. Maybe it goes through a self-protect. Let me see if I can get you a better angle here. See, this flickers for a second. Oh, look at that power switch is bad. Ah, I think we just found the source of our problem already. If I push on the switch here, it'll stay on. Okay, the amplifier's on for the moment. Let's see if I can do this real quickly. So what I want to do is I'm going to put a multimeter here, see if I can get this set up so you can see with glare. And I'm just going to take a look at the speaker outputs here and see if we have any bad DC offset. And it looks like we're in pretty good shape there. Can you still see that? Can I get over here? And DC offset looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off and we're going to unplug it, and we're going to take a look at this switch in here, because this switch must be dirty. And right away I see something interesting that we can talk about. Let me zoom you in here if I can. I really need to get a different camera with a zoom lens. I know I've said that before. So take a look at the switch here. You see how they're doing these 2 wires across just 2 contacts on here, but this is clearly a double pole, double throw switch in here. And they could have wired this across here using both sections of the switch, so that way you had a better positive contact. They didn't do that here, and so this switch is now causing a problem. And these wires here are really thin gauge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray some deoxit in here. I'm going to clean up the switch. I'm going to put some bars across both sections there, and I'm going to resolder these wires on so it makes better connection. So let me take a look, let me get that work done, and I'll bring you right back. Okay, we have this cleaned, and we have both sections of the switch tied together. And as you can see, the amplifier turns on. If I wiggle the switch, it's fine. And if you notice the variac over there, the meter on the right is the current meter. When you power this on, you get a pretty good spike. Even with the soft start circuit, you get a pretty good spike there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to power this off, and we're going to connect up the audio precision and inject a signal to it. So let's take a look here. Usually I try and get the signal cables routed in such a way that they are away from the speaker cables. And let's see here. And let's see if we can get you a better shot so you can see the audio precision as well. Hang tight 1 second. Okay, we have a bit better view of my messy bench. We have the amplifier on, and we have the audio precision ATS1 here set up as our signal generator and distortion analyzer. We have a oscilloscope here to monitor, and you can't quite see it, but up here we have a big resistor load bank currently set for 8 ohms. And let's see if we can turn on some signal here. And we have 10 millivolts going in at 1 kilohertz. As you can see, we have some signal here. We've got 297 millivolts coming out, so we are amplifying. So we're going to turn up our input signal here. We have an 8 ohm load, so 2.83 volts into an 8 ohm load equals 1 watt. That's pretty close. And our distortion for our left channel is pretty low at 0.02%. Let's go to the right channel here. Distortion there is a little bit lower, 0.019% there. We can see our signal looks good on the oscilloscope over here. Let's see how much power we can get out of this. So let's crank this up. Now our variac is limited to 6 amps. So I have to be careful and mindful of where we're at here. And so we're going to watch our distortion here as we're coming up on our power. This amplifier is rated for 200 watts a channel, and so right there we're at about 1% distortion, and we get just shy of 200 watts. So let's go over here to channel 8. Now, 40 volts RMS into an 8 ohm load is 200 watts, so I'm looking for 40 volts RMS here. And our signal's coming up. I'm watching our distortion. Every once in a while you'll see this jump really high as it switches from one range to the next. And we're starting to flatline right there. I don't know if you can see that scope there, but we're starting to clip right there, and our distortion's coming up. We hit one distortion at 39.7 volts, which is just shy of 200 watts. Both channels being driven. So this amplifier is up and running. It's in good shape, and we can return it back to the customer now. And that was a quick, simple, and easy repair. I didn't expect it to be quite so simple. I figured it was going to be a lot harder than that. So there you have it. We're going to clean up the top, put it back together, and send it on its way. Well, that amplifier repair didn't take nearly as much time as I expected. I thought I was going to have a nice repair video for you guys, doing some troubleshooting, some diagnostics and whatever. And, you know, simple power switch issues, not a real big deal. So we have a little bit of time, and so it's story time. So last weekend, I guess it was, I was on Facebook Marketplace, and I saw an ad for this Teac A2340SX 4-track, 4-channel, reel-to-reel deck. And it had been marked, I don't know, $400 or $500 or something, and the price had been marked down to $200. And it had a note that said that track 1 didn't record, that the guy had paid $800 for it, and then he was told it worked, and when he got it, it didn't work, and he was quite frustrated with the situation. And I had sent him a message and just said, hey, you know, have you tried cleaning the heads? Have you looked at this? You know, have you looked at that? You know, and offered. I said, you know, if you want to bring it to my shop, I'll be happy to take a look at it for you and you know, see what's going on with it. And he responded with kind of a hostile reply. And I just responded and said, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I was just offering to help, you know. And he said, I'm just sick of it. I'm done with it. You know, it's worth $200. Somebody will give me $200 for it. And I thought, you know, hey, great, you know, more power to you. I wasn't in the market for it. I didn't need another reel-to-reel deck. So I figured somebody would buy it for $200. And the week went on, and what day was it? Tuesday, Wednesday, last week. I got Facebook Marketplace sent me a notification saying an item that you previously viewed has now been reduced in price. And I looked at it, and it had been marked down to $0 free. And so I sent him a message and said, hey, you know, you're not really giving this away for free, are you? And he responded and said, come and get it, Merry Christmas. So I agreed to go and get it, but I didn't realize that this guy was over an hour away. And I didn't pay attention to the weather to see that the day that I agreed to go and get this thing, it was going to be a massive snowstorm here in Minnesota. And of course, when I left my town and started driving north, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse until I got to his town, which is out in the boonies, and there was no roads anymore. It was just trees here, and I'm aiming down the middle and hoping for the best. I got to his house, and he's a nice older guy. And he explained that he was used to a cassette port, a studio, and he didn't realize he was going to need to have external equipment with it, a mixer and, all this other stuff that he was going to need with it. And then he said he thought it had worked, or he was told that it worked. And when he got it, he couldn't figure out how to make it work. He thought it was something he was doing. And I took a look at it, and the first thing I noticed is that he had it threaded wrong. And so we fixed that and tried it, and it still didn't work. You can inject a signal, and you can see this meter move in tape and source mode, but you get no output from it whatsoever. And so he gave it to me for free, and with it came a couple of nice aluminum reels. I mean, geez, these reels are worth some money, and a brand new reel of RTM tape of some sort. I don't know what flavor it is, but that, and he had printed off a owner's manual for the thing, that was nice too. And so I grabbed it, and once I got it back to my shop, that's when I started noticing some issues with it. So I'm gonna zoom you in here in a second. We're gonna take a close look at it, and I'll show you what I found. So hang tight. Okay, the first thing I found when I started looking at this is that this post over here, somebody had replaced it with a pop rivet. And the pop rivet, they put some kind of little aluminum piece on here, and this was spaced wrong, and the pop rivet's all rough, and it was scraping the tape. And so that's got to be fixed. And I started looking at it and playing with it, and as I started moving the head switches, I noticed that when I would do the channel 3 here, it would get a pop and there would be noise and you could hear some difference in it, but this one didn't do anything. So I removed this head cover, and let me try and zoom you in here a little bit more. I don't know if you can see, but these decks, when they fall over, smash these switches in and break this circuit board on both sides here. And I don't know if you can see that side over there, but it is broken here, it's broken there, and of course with the GoPro I can't zoom in, but somebody has applied JB Weld here. Oh look, it's even loose in there. This piece is going to fall out, and so I'm assuming that on the back of this there's going to be a bunch of jumper wires and mess here. And so we have another project. I don't need another project. I didn't need this deck to begin with. And it does, the capstan belt is good on it, and it fast forwards and it rewinds, and it looks to be in okay shape. The wood's a little beat up and whatnot, and so for now, it's just going to go off into the corner and look pretty and sit there, and it'll be a project for another day. We'll get to it, and looking online, this seems to be a common problem with these boards breaking. I'm not sure if that's the only problem. They might have other issues for all I know, but it's not something I'm going to dig into right now. So for now, I'm going to put it off to the side and leave it be. But you know, the lure of a free reel-to-reel deck, I just couldn't pass it up, and you know, it was even worth driving through the snowstorm to go get. And one day we'll get it fixed up and pass it on to somebody else. But I'm a sucker for a free reel-to-reel deck. What can I say? So, all right, everybody, have a good one.